The Founding Fathers understood how important a stable government was. A government in which its rules are constantly changing becomes a failed state. We are at a point when all you hear is about our democracy. We shouldn't be living in a democracy. Our Founding Fathers intended for us to be a constitutional republic. And let's answer the first objection now. Yes, there is a difference, and they are major differences. James Madison wrote in Federalist 62 some of the exact issues we are currently running into. In most aspects we have a 4-year dictatorship in America. Whoever is the president can just make executive actions, or the administrative state can just make any law they want bypassing Congress. We saw President Obama actively go around for many months around America giving speeches about bypassing Congress, which violates the Constitution, and these speeches were met with thunderous applause. We now have student loan forgiveness, electric car mandates, all actions done by a tyrant president, who has no authority to do these things by himself in a healthy constitutional republic. James Madison starts out by saying,
"To trace the mischievous effects of a mutable government would fill a volume. I will hint a few only, each of which will be perceived to be a source of innumerable others. In the first place, it forfeits the respect and confidence of other nations, and all the advantages connected with national character. An individual who is observed to be inconstant to his plans, or perhaps to carry on his affairs without any plan at all, is marked at once, by all prudent people, as a speedy victim to his own unsteadiness and folly. His more friendly neighbors may pity him, but all will decline to connect their fortunes with his, and not a few will seize the opportunity of making their fortunes out of his. One nation is to another what one individual is to another, with this melancholy distinction perhaps, that the former, with fewer of the benevolent emotions than the latter, are under fewer restraints also from taking undue advantage from the indiscretions of each other. Every nation, consequently, whose affairs betray a want of wisdom and stability, may calculate on every loss which can be sustained from the more systematic policy of their wiser neighbors. But the best instruction on this subject is unhappily conveyed to America by the example of her own situation. She finds that she is held in no respect by her friends, that she is the derision of her enemies, and that she is a prey to every nation which has an interest in speculating on her fluctuating counsels and embarrassed affairs.
This to me is what the BRICS nations are. Brazil, Russia, India, and China are coming together to form an alliance. These nations will try to set up a situation where they are the leaders of a post-American world. That international trade will not be done in US dollars anymore but their currency. These nations know America is weak and is an empire in decline. And there is no reason for them right now to push the issue as we are facilitating our own downfall. We don't need outside pressure. They just have to bide their time and prepare to step into that gap once it opens. The same is true of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Taliban knew they could just wait and eventually we would leave. All they had to do was let the local population know that they would still be around when the Americans left. They were the most organized and locally powerful group and took over within hours. When it comes to choosing sides in foreign conflicts, America also has a problem of only propping up and picking puppets who have no respect from their local populations, which undermines our credibility and ability to be successful in these countries. The world knows America's time has passed, no one takes us seriously, we just still currently hand out money and countries don't want that money to dry up for now. Back to Federalist 62.
The internal effects of a mutable policy are still more calamitous. It poisons the blessing of liberty itself. It will be of little avail to the people that the laws are made by men of their own choice, if the laws be so voluminous that they cannot be read, or so incoherent that they cannot be understood, if they be repealed or revised before they are promulgated, or undergo such incessant changes that no man, who knows what the law is today, can guess what it will be tomorrow. Law is defined to be a rule of action, but how can that be a rule, which is little known, and less fixed?
When was the last time Congress didn't pass a 2,000-page bill in the middle of the night? It's been so long I can't remember. Nancy Pelosi famously said in 2010, Congress has to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it, away from the fog of controversy. No one reads the bills, no one knows what is in them, no one knows where the money truly goes. There is no accountability in something that is 2,000 pages, that suddenly shows up and gets voted on and passed in 2 days. This is all done on purpose, the large bills no one can read, with laws, provisions and exceptions for the people who bribe, lobby Congress. We now have so many laws on the books that basically everyone is a felon and breaking some form of law, the government just doesn't deem you important enough to look into it. We don't live in a free country as we don't know what laws our own elected representatives are voting on. We can't even properly lobby and reach out to them and air our approval or grievances as it is done so quickly and in the middle of the night in most cases. Back to Federalist 62.
Another effect of public instability is the unreasonable advantage it gives to the sagacious, the enterprising, and the moneyed few over the industrious and uniformed mass of the people. Every new regulation concerning commerce or revenue, or in any way affecting the value of the different species of property, presents a new harvest to those who watch the change, and can trace its consequences, a harvest reared not by themselves, but by the toils and cares of the great body of their fellow citizens. This is a state of things in which it may be said with some truth that laws are made for the few, not for the many.
The major corporations in America love and lobby for more regulations. What more regulations do is keep current businesses in power, and stop new competition from entering the market. As the cost of entry goes up as more regulations come onto the books. The same is true of a complicated tax code. The wealthy love the complex and complicated tax code as it has more loopholes in order for them to get out of not paying any taxes. It is a feature of the system, not a bug. The rich bribe the government to keep the advantages they currently possess. As the government becomes more centralized, the few are benefited over the many, as the few have access to the people in power, the many do not. The founders knew this would happen, as it has happened everywhere on earth. They tried to build us a limited federal government with checks and balances, but since around 1900 we have been destroying the system they built brick by brick. Back to Federalist 62.
In another point of view, great injury results from an unstable government. The want of confidence in the public councils damps every useful undertaking, the success and profit of which may depend on a continuance of existing arrangements. What prudent merchant will hazard his fortunes in any new branch of commerce when he knows not but that his plans may be rendered unlawful before they can be executed? What farmer or manufacturer will lay himself out for the encouragement given to any particular cultivation or establishment, when he can have no assurance that his preparatory labors and advances will not render him a victim to an inconstant government? In a word, no great improvement or laudable enterprise can go forward which requires the auspices of a steady system of national policy.
This is the exact case that businessman Kevin O'Leary is making about New York City convicting Donald Trump and seizing his businesses. Donald Trump was taken to court, without a trial, ruled guilty by a judge, then ordered to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in a case that had no victim. But the case O'Leary was making for why this was so bad is because no one will want to invest in New York City anymore. If your money and businesses can be taken without a trial because the people in power don't like your political beliefs, you live in a third world banana republic. There is no way New York City can continue to operate like this. Investment will sink to nothing. We now compete in a world economy. When you are rich you can park your money anywhere on the globe, you will pick the most stable place you can find. When America and its states are no longer that option, we will feel the effects in terms of lower economic growth, less jobs, lower wages and higher prices. Back to Federalist 62.
But the most deplorable effect of all is that diminution of attachment and reverence which steals into the hearts of the people, towards a political system which betrays so many marks of infirmity, and disappoints so many of their flattering hopes. No government, any more than an individual, will long be respected without being truly respectable, nor be truly respectable, without possessing a certain portion of order and stability.
What's to come is impossible to predict, but it seems like half the country is already at this point. And the half in power needs to realize that this doesn't end well. Temporary power isn't worth the long-term feeling of betrayal and lack of faith in the system by those not in power. Our liberty has been eroded so much that most people have become resigned to their fate as serfs. We are taxed beyond our means in order for the people in power to steal, make insider deals, and funnel money to their NGOs and nonprofits. All the while the laws are used against tax-paying citizens to crush us into submission and silence. Scared to poke our heads up and speak out knowing we will get destroyed and no one will be there to back us up. Everything James Madison said here as a warning has come true in a very real way. The further we step away from the founders we move towards instability, chaos, and tyranny. With instability and chaos people tend to accept tyranny as the lesser of two evils. But the only true solution humans have come up with is a limited constitutional republic which maximizes human liberty, respects private property rights, and treats all people equal under the law. All of which we are actively moving away from.